Tom Dent, det er påske. Du har jobbet med laget i 8-9 uker. Hva er status, synes du?
Well, the status is that we have, I think, developed a lot in many areas. I think the big things, obviously, when you have a new coach that comes in, there's been new players come in, new staff come in with Bjarne and myself and Tardier. So I think it's been a really positive time where a lot of things have begun to sit, a lot of ideas have begun to creep into the games that we played and the trainings that we do. I think the players deserve a huge amount of credit because I think that they have been from day one very open to new ideas and been willing to at least try things and discuss and be curious about a lot of things. I remember that when I first spoke I said that I wasn't going to change too much, and I think it's been a very fine line to find the balance between changing too much and keeping what's already working, and I believe that we've found a good tone with that. And I think that the challenges that we've had as a group, obviously the uncertainty of when the season's going to begin, 2 hours before Rosenborg getting told the game was getting called off and having to respond to that, I think that the group have handled that very, very well, and I think that they are fully deserving of the time they have off now in Easter.
Ja, for hvilke endringer er det du på en måte har gjort, ville ha gjort, måtte gjøre? Kan du si litt kortere om det?
Yeah, I think there wasn't too much that had to be done. I think the biggest thing obviously was that it's a team that scored a lot of goals last year. I believe they were 4th or 5th highest in the league to score goals, but they were also the 3rd most leaky defence, for a better phrase. So I think we've had some good rounds with that to discuss why that was and worked on things that we perhaps felt a little bit insecure about. Of course, when a new coach comes in, they have new ideas, new ways of working, new principles, new priorities, both on the pitch but also off the pitch, within the changing room, within the group, within the training coaching staff. So I think that there's been a lot of areas where perhaps our personality of coaches has perhaps been stamped on the group, and I think the group have then responded to that in their way, and we've tried to create an environment where the values of the club, so honesty and loyalty and humility, are lived and referred to perhaps a bit more often than they were before. So that they're not just words then they're on a piece of paper, but they're things that we as a group, and that's including the coaching staff, live every day. So I think there's been lots of small changes, and obviously the introduction of Tardier has been really positive, the introduction of the playmaker has been really positive, the introduction of perhaps a bit more analysis both collectively, individually and within the units in the team has seemed to be positive. And I think the biggest question we all have now is, where do we sit? And the answer is we don't know, because we only know that we're good at playing against each other. And I think that the foundations are there. I think the extra time we've had has been a positive to us. And I think that with the games that are coming now, before we start the season, I think that will give us a really true indication of where we are, but also allow us to fine-tune the details and focus a bit more on when to do what. We've used the analogy that the last 8 weeks we've been learning how to use different tools. So if you imagine a hammer and a screwdriver and a saw, and we've learned about using them, and now the last part of that is knowing when to use a screwdriver with a screw, and when to use a hammer with a nail, and when to use a saw on a piece of wood, and not be left in a situation where we're trying to hammer a nail in with a screwdriver. So it's about now learning when to do what, and just fine-tuning the things that perhaps we haven't been able to recreate so far, because the focus has been predominantly on us.
Når du skal bygge en tropp, en stall, Tom Dent, hva har vært viktig for deg i vinter med tanke på det?
I think the first thing with the squad was that there was a few players that for one reason or another, didn't feel that they had enough of a chance to show themselves at this level, and were quite hungry to have that opportunity. So it was important for us as a coaching staff that we used the first weeks to see what we had and try a few different things and try players in a few different positions to see if we could get the best out of them. So I think regardless of when you build a squad, the first thing you have to do is you have to give everyone the opportunity to be part of that squad. I think after that then you analyse each player compared to what you as a head coach and you as a coaching staff believe is important, both in terms of footballing ability, in terms of tactical understanding, in terms of the personality they bring to the group. And I think then you give the players the opportunity then to decide where their future lies. We've had some players go out, which for some it's been that their contract has expired and we felt that it was best for them to try something different. For others, we've been honest enough to say that we don't feel that you're going to get the focus that you need this year, and therefore it's about having an honest conversation and saying, this is where we think you're good, this is where we think you're not so good, but this is where we feel is the right path for you. I think for some, and I have to give, I think Morten Strand, as an example, a lot of credit. I think he was someone that was used a bit all over the place last season. We had a good conversation in January about where he felt his strengths lied, and I think that he's responded really well to having the opportunity to be able to show himself in what he feels is his best position, and I personally feel he's done very, very well in this winter. I think the young players are important, and it's important that we use the time on them. So for those that are already here, Andreas, Jakob, Carly, I think they've taken very big steps, but I think they've all taken steps at different points and in different ways. We've had a few honest conversations with all three of them at different points to say, look, you're part of the R-Log squad now, you're not a junior in the R-Log squad, that requires you to do something different. And I think they've responded very, very well. And I think it's been clear with Erasmus coming in as a goalkeeper, someone who's young, hungry, wants to be in an environment where he can improve. And I think that's been a very good first impression from him. And I think the regulars have enjoyed, I use regulars, the ones that have been here perhaps the longest and the ones that have been here since I was last here. I feel that they've enjoyed what we've done. I think we've had some good videos and good conversations where we've challenged a few things, they've challenged us as coaches, and we've been able to find the solutions. So to answer your question about building a squad, I think the first thing is you have to get everyone on the same page. You have to identify what you believe each player can bring to the squad, and it's not just to the team but to the squad. And then I think you make the changes that you need to make. That means that you have a squad then that can handle what is going to be another very intensive year. It's not going to be about 11 players playing 30 games. We don't have the capability to do that in terms of the physics that are involved. So every person, whether they play 10 minutes, 10 games or 30, is going to be really, really important for what we achieve. And I think that we're on the pathway to have that.
Ja, du nevnte tidligere to elementer, videoanalyse og playermaker. Videoanalyse forstår jo folk umiddelbart hva er for noe, men playermaker, kort om hva er det for noe?
Yeah, playermaker is basically a tracking system. I know that people have used it as GPS, but I've been told in no uncertain terms this is not a GPS system. So I think the best way is to call it a tracking system. And the reason for that is it tracks a lot of different things. So it does the physical data, it measures how far you run and how quick you run and things like that, which is what Vitalier and Simon, who's helped us manage that, has been important to help us plan the weeks. And I think the relatively small amount of injuries we've had so far, in particular muscular injuries, has been a factor because we've been allowed to predict what's about to happen. And again, I have to underline. I think Talia and Simon have done a brilliant job in assisting us as coaches to plan that. But the unique selling point to it is it allows us to measure the football elements as well. So we've been able to put possession stats when we've played internal games of who's had more of the ball. And then individually we've been able to look at things like number of touches, how many touches they use on each foot, how long do they have on the ball on average, what's their pass percentage, who do they often play the most passes to. So for example, if Fisker plays the ball to Horvath the most out of the game, the question you then have to ask is, well, why? And then when you watch the video back, you get a picture of why that is. Is it because the other team don't let him play forwards? Is it because Fisker's not quite positioned right? Is it because the options in front of him are not clear enough and therefore he's right but the other? So it gives us a chance then to map out why things happen and basically use it as a more concrete evidence alongside the video to help us understand why things happen like they do. So it's been a really good resource, it's been a really important resource to allow us to just give the players that bit more extra confirmation as to why things are like they are and what we expect to see then in the games going forward. We expect that physically things will go up a notch when we start playing games because that competitive element will mean things mean a little bit more. But we also can put it alongside the technical data then to help us and prepare best for the season coming ahead.
Sesongen ser ut til å starte 15. mai nå. Sesongen i fjor ga oss masse mål begge veier, Tom Dent. Er det sånn at du gjerne offrer noen mål fremover for å sikre litt bedre bakover, eller hvordan vil laget fremstå sånn i store trekk i de to det?
I think the most important thing is that the team is on the front foot. And what that means necessarily is not that we go all out to score loads and loads of goals, and nor does it mean that we sit back and look to score goals on the counter. But I think what I hope we can create is a team that can adjust to the climate of the game well enough to exploit the opportunities there. Now that might mean that we have to at some points just defend our box for a little bit and feel the momentum a little bit and take control of it. But it's also going to be when we are on top of the game that we utilise that we take control of the initiative and we use the ball and, as you say, hopefully score a lot of goals with it. It's been pleasing in the last two internal games. There's been lots of goals. Now there's obviously two sides to that. But I feel that it's about understanding why or what the game feels like. You know, we are going to go to places like Ålesund and Start and HamKam that are more used to dominating at home. And we have to be able to handle those situations but not be afraid of them and be able to go there with enough conviction and belief in our own game plan and our own way of playing. And likewise, when we play here at Moose, we hope to be the team then that can take the initiative and dominate a little bit more. So it's about being aware of our situation, aware of where our strengths lie in that particular game, in that particular moment, and utilising them the best we can do. And I'm a stickler that I like clean sheets, but I'm also a bit more offensively orientated than perhaps defensively orientated as a coach. That's why I brought Brian in, because Bjarne is the one then to balance that out, and Snorre is the one that gives us the X factor then on the pitch when it comes to that final third that perhaps I don't necessarily have as much of. So I think for us it's about, as I say, it's not about just the result is a consequence of what we do. So if we take our chances and we prevent the opposition taking theirs, we'll win games. If we go into a game just to win it, then that gives us no reference point to what we need to do.
Tom, du ønsker god påske og en flott siste innsats før serien starter.
Thank you, happy Easter to everyone else, and hopefully see you all here in not too long a time.